Good morning, traders. Welcome to Trading Together. I'm Mel Gacee. Today is Monday, April the 20th. Excuse me, April 7th. Here we are, almost at the end of April. So it's this month has gone by very quickly, and we are sitting here today with just a bit of a sideways action. I've made a couple of trades this morning, done pretty good on them so far. Two just little baby ones and one that did pretty well. And so right now, not a whole bunch to trade. Just kind of watching to see if we're going to break. We're just hovering right on the VWAP. And as you guys, if you remember, the VWAP is one of my favorite indicators. It stands for the volume weighted average price. And it's basically just a moving average, but it takes into consideration volume and gives us an updated moving average based on volume. Don't ask me what that calculation is. I do not know, but it adds more weight where we see more volume. So that being said, let's say good morning to everybody. If you're here this morning, I would love it if you would drop your hi in the chat like Gavilan did. Thanks, Gavilan. Good morning. And the reason I want to do that is this is a friendly, interactive place. This is completely free. I'm taking live trades here for educational purposes, and I'm teaching people how to trade. And so I'm also helping people with their questions and comments. So if you have questions and comments, drop them in the chat. I'm going to help you any way that I can. This stream is for traders of all levels. I love working with beginners, but I've been trading for 20 years. I have my Series 7, so I'm a licensed stockbroker. This is what I do for a living. This is my living. So I really enjoy working with traders of all levels, but especially helping newer traders on their journey. So don't be shy, say hello, ask your questions, and let's see if we can get some trades this morning. It looks like Val is here. Good morning, Val. Dana is here. Sesteton is here. Good morning. Thank you for joining, guys. Thanks for saying hi. I do appreciate it. It's trading can be a lonely profession. And so if you ever try to talk to somebody over dinner about your trades, I guarantee you're going to get a blank stare or a glassy look, or you're going to get someone saying, oh, day trading, that's just for gamblers. You're just throwing your money away. So it can be a lonely profession. We start to learn to just keep our trades to ourselves. And that's not any fun. It's more fun to have someone to trade with. So love it that you're here and you're saying hi. I appreciate it. All right, nice drop here. Looks like we're beating this recent swing low. And looks like the VIX gave us a little move up here. So let's see what happens. I do have some puts that I've been looking at here at the 713 level, 713 strike for today's expiration. I'm not in them just yet because this has been a bit of a sideways move. This is a bit of a bottom here. So let's see what kind of response we get as we kind of hit this swing low that we had over here. This is our lowest point of the day so far, right in through here. So I want to see, we're real close to that. I want to see what we're going to do here. I'm not willing to jump in at this moment. All right, Nick is here. Good morning. Choppy, retesting the opening low. Exactly right, Nick. Thank you for sharing. If we break down through that low, I might consider puts here. We are making a little move, so I like that. It's finally getting out of the range, so that's good because we've been sitting in this range all morning. We are to the outer edge of the VWAP, so we got to be careful there. We are 12 points down from Friday's close. So we're just in the red by a little bit. All right. So do you see this little white line down here. It's very pale white. This is the lower edge of the VWAP, the lower band. There's an upper band right here. There's a lower band right here. So we just talked about this VWAP line being the volume weighted average price. It provides us with two outer bands, one up and one down. These are two standard deviations above and below the VWAP itself. And so usually when we start to hit this outer band, I get a little bit more cautious with my trades because no, it doesn't always happen, but sometimes we'll get a little reversal. Like looks like we could be getting right here, a little bit of a bounce off of that outer band. So I'm just watching. If it comes down and breaks through, we might consider that put, that 713. The VIX did give us a little jump here, and now it's kind of rounding over. So let's give it a minute. We're still, by and large, in the same range. So if you scrunch down and zoom out like I'm doing over here, look at that. It's just sideways. We're toward the bottom, but we are sideways. So no real trade for me just yet. And we've got big, 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 big things happening on Wednesday. Two big things, well, many big things, but the two major things are we've got a lot of earnings coming out Wednesday afternoon for Google Class A and Class C, for Amazon, for Meta, I think Microsoft. I have to double check on that. QCOM, tons and tons of major tech companies reporting on Wednesday after the bell, which is absolutely going to move the market. It's going to make the market volatile and jumpy, and we could see big swings in both directions. We also, on Wednesday, as if that weren't enough, we also have the FOMC meeting. Now, it's a foregone conclusion, virtually 100% concluded that there will be no movement on the interest rates at this meeting. Nobody expects any kind of a movement on interest rates. However, we always, the market always wants to hear what the committee had to say, what the Fed chair had to say. This will be Powell's last meeting as he is stepping down in May. And so his words may carry a little less weight because he will not be around to confirm or deny the direction that we are taking going forward. That will be the new chair, Warsh, if he does get approved by the Congress, and he needs to have his approval before we get him in there. But looks like that is going to happen. It has been delayed. There certainly was some pushback from the Democrats about that, but well, I think it'll go through. It seems to be going through. Powell has said that he will stay on for as long as needed, and Trump has said, absolutely, you will not. So we'll see how that one plays out. It's interesting to kind of watch these little fights that go on. But bottom line is Powell is going away. He has no more say in the Federal Open Market Committee decisions after this, unless something weird happens and he does stay on, and then it'll be a whole nother rat's nest. But I don't see that happening. I see Warsh coming in there sooner than later. And of course, everybody is kind of thinking, all right, Trump would not have selected him if Trump were not pretty convinced that Warsh is going to go ahead and reduce rates. That's what Trump wants. And even though Warsh has said he will remain independent, I think everybody knows that with Trump kind of pushing him forward, that it's a kind of everyone's kind of concluded he's going to be dovish. He's going to want to cut rates. So that is bullish for the market. If he does get in there, if things go smoothly, if he does start pushing to cut rates, That's just more free money. It's not great for inflation. Everything goes up in price every time we cut these rates and print more free money. Of course, we are just compounding this terrible problem we already have with inflation, and that there's sure to be more of that in the future. However, the market loves it. So that's the kind of the political landscape there for the Feds moving forward. This meeting, like I said, no real move expected on the interest rates. Powell doesn't really have much of a voice anymore, so we may not see too many fireworks at this committee meeting, although you never know. The real fireworks will probably come from the earnings on Wednesday night. So that's what I'll be watching for. And all that being said, means that it is possible we just get some sideways action between now and Wednesday. The market is really waiting for earnings on big tech. So as the market kind of waits, holding its breath a little bit here, we are going to maybe see some sideways action. That's what we're seeing right now. Sideways to downwards today is what it looks like. So as we zoom out again, this is a minute chart, but this is where we opened right here with that push up and the pull down. But really, by and large, you can certainly see this zone right here, very heavily trafficked and much sideways movement, even though it is kind of, there is some space between the top and the bottom. It is mostly sideways to downward at the moment. Now, we have an overnight high where I have my yellow line drawn, which was another new all-time high, in the pre-market, sitting right here, 72.08 on the ES, which is going to equate roughly to, let's see, 71.80 roughly on the SPX. Can you believe we're even saying those numbers? 71.80 is the overnight high, roughly, on the SPX. That would be our new all-time high if the market were to jump up there and grab that overnight high that it made. Right now, you can see the low is down here at 71.70, high at 72.08, about a 40-point difference, about a 40-point range. And the market is roughly right in the middle, although right now it's given us a little downward trajectory. Roughly, we're sitting right in the middle of this zone. So is it possible we just sit here and go sideways for the next 2 days? It is possible. And that is very hard trading. Sideways ranges are hard to trade. So be careful. If you see it range, just stay safe, right? It's hard when you're sitting in this sideways choppiness. They're bleeding your options out. They're bleeding your theta away, because remember, options have time value. Options eventually expire worthless. And the options I trade here on this stream are 0 DTE, meaning they expire today. So their time value is very short. These options only live, think of it as a lifespan. They live for 1 day, right? They're born this morning, they die this afternoon. That's how 0 DTE works. Well, I won't say they're born this morning, because you could have bought today's expiration a while back. But basically, for us, they're born today, they die today. So when we take these trades, we have to be very fast. The strategy involves being in and out as quickly as possible, because the time value, the lifespan of this option is bleeding away the closer we get to the end of the day. And so as that happens, we're losing the value of our option. So for me, one of the biggest factors in my trading strategy is being in and out quickly. And you guys have watched me trade before. You see me jumping in and out as quick as I can. Now, sometimes I have to hold them, and I don't like it. And when you normally wind up holding them is when, well, it's sideways, a lot of sideways. So I'm very cautious of sideways movement, and I try to be real careful not to get in on a trade that could just pull sideways for a while. All right. Nick saying it's been amusing watching an abrasive president talk to a cautious Fed chair, basically a comedy movie in every interaction. It is funny. It is funny. When Fed Chair Powell redesigned the offices, and it was some ridiculous multi-billion-dollar project. I mean, ridiculous. And there was this little spat going on between Trump and Powell. Then, Trump was threatening legal action, misappropriation of funds, which I'll be honest, I see absolutely no excuse for spending billions on a renovation. Absolutely no excuse for that. It was misappropriation of funds, in my opinion, but it was funny the way it became politicized. And there's one picture of Powell standing next to Trump at they were touring the building and the renovations. They both had their hard hats on, and they could not have looked any more uncomfortable with each other. Even in the picture, you could just feel the awkwardness between them. But that you're right, Nick. It is a funny. It is a comedy, right? The way Trump speaks, the way the Powell speaks, it's funny. It is funny. So, all right. So we built a little bottom here, it looks like. We could be getting a bounce right back up to the VWAP. Let's see. So here's our VWAP right here. This green line is our opening range. So I usually mark off the first 15 minutes of trading action with these little green bars. So right here was the low of the first 15 minutes. And then here was the high of the first 15 minutes. And so this little green space here is our opening range. And basically all we've done is sit inside of it all day long. See it? Here's the top, here's the bottom. Basically, we've sat inside of it. And remember, I was just saying a few minutes ago, I would be careful with any puts here because this was our recent low of the day. I don't want to trade when we're getting that close because what could we get? Well, we could get this. We get this little bottom that gets built again. So this is virtually at this moment building a double bottom, even though they look a little spread out on the minute chart. If you zoom out, like we have this chart zoomed out, you can see the double bottom kind of building right here. Double bottoms are a bullish pattern. It means that the bears tried to pull it down and couldn't, got a bounce there, tried to pull it down again, and so far have not been able to. Doesn't mean they won't, but right now they've not been able to break it. So when you start to see double bottoms or double tops, like here's a double top, triple top really, same idea. The bulls, bears pulled it down, bulls pulled it up. The bulls could not break the top. The bears could not break the bottom, although this one looks promising. And that's how we define double tops, double bottoms, triple tops, triple bottoms. That's why they're bullish or bearish, because again, the bears at this point haven't broken. They're trying right here. They're making an effort, but at this point, they haven't broken this low yet. So at this point, if the bears are not able to drag it down, the bulls will pull it back up, and then they'll take another shot at this top range. However long that takes. That can take a long time when we're pulling sideways. All right. Sitting right here, not doing much, but let's see. What we want to see is a break right here of this bottom, and we're sitting right on it. We are also, like I pointed out, sitting at the lower edge of the VWAP. We are also pretty close to getting oversold. Let me see what the RSI is doing. RSI looking a little oversold. Not quite, but pretty close. Sitting at 35. Below 30 is oversold on the RSI. For me, that's my setting. VIX is giving us a slow little creep up here after a long move down. Look at how VIX has kind of just been slowly and steadily moving down, whereas the market is sort of, instead of slowly and steadily moving up, it's really just kind of been sideways. So this is a little bit of a red flag when we see the VIX making a pretty clear direction, and yet the market is not exactly it's not exactly in sync. So usually the S&P 500 and the VIX usually have an inverse relationship, but they're pretty in sync with each other. If the VIX jumps, the SPX drops. If the SPX jumps, the VIX drops. They're usually really in lockstep with each other in an inverse fashion. Today, not so much. Today, we're getting, like I said, this move up, but then really just down and sideways, while the VIX all this time has been slowly moving down. So a little odd. Now from about this point here at 11 o'clock, we're getting a move up on the VIX, which does correspond at this time to a move down on the SPY. So still trying to hold this little bottom here. All right, there we go. There's a nice little drop for us. That is almost a break of this bottom. Right here where I have my cursor, there we go. Okay, beautiful. We like that. Down 16. We are just visiting our overnight low. I bet you we get a bounce here, but let's see if that's true. Let's see if we get a bounce. It is bouncing a bit. So you see how it came all the way right down here to this overnight low? Real fast too. So pulled sideways here and then boom, boom, 2 candles, 2 minutes, came right down and tested the overnight low. I think it should hold here. If it doesn't, we may catch a put. We may try. Good morning, Guy. Good to see you. So if it doesn't hold here, we may look at some puts, although it would be a bit extended, wouldn't it? Because we've really technically been moving down since about here, since about 10:35 Eastern. So a good almost an hour we've been moving down. So we've got to be cautious. We have to be cautious when if we decide to join a move that's been in place for quite a while, we have to be really cautious about that. All right. Yep, looking like some respect here at the overnight low. And again, guys, how many times have we seen these levels get respected? I mark them on my charts every day, and they don't always, you don't always see a reaction or a magnet effect with the overnight highs and lows, but more often than not, you do. So it's something to mark on your charts. It's important and it's easy. I just look left in the morning before the market opens. I take a look left and I see what we got. And our low was created way back over here at the open of the SPY movement. So SPY closes for a little while on the weekend. So that those overnight highs and lows are pretty important, and I do mark them. And it's not hard. Like I said, you just look left and just mark them off. There's our high right there in the pre-market. And that one, this high right here, like I said, that's the new all-time high. So it did get hit pre-market. You can pretty much guarantee it's going to get hit post-market. It doesn't have to be today. But usually when we've got something like that, an untested all-time high, pretty much a sure bet that it's going to be revisited in regular hours. So that's that. This one I will keep on my chart, even if we don't tag it today. I will definitely keep it on my chart as an area of interest. And here's our VIX, slowly but surely giving us another little climb up here. VIX starting to look a little bottomy here, doesn't it? Almost like it wants to create a V. Almost looks that way, doesn't it? Looking a little bottomy. We'll see. We'll have to be patient, but it kind of looks that way to me. And here's the thing. We are seeing some movement, some interest in the VIX options at the 20 strike. So we could see VIX give us another pop up. Today, our high was 19.2, but we could see the VIX give us another pop up into the 20 zone, which would give us a quick flash drop on the SPX. All right, nice little hold here. Not out of the woods yet. We did get oversold, I should say, on the RSI. Got oversold right here, right when we tagged that low, and then it moved up a bit. So now the RSI is recovering. See it? You can see that it's building its little upward line right here, but it was on this blue mark. That's where it was getting oversold right there. So now it's giving us a little push up, and that could have been our bottom. Could be the low for the day. We don't know yet. We'll have to watch and see. And our VIX V-shaped recovery is looking questionable at the moment. Let's take a look at the VIX on the daily. And I do want to look at the options flow. Looking a little suspicious in here, isn't it, guys? Doesn't that look a little suspicious? All kind of just all bunched up here. It's not really reflective of what the daily chart looks like on the S&P. Let's look. I'll show you why. So if you look at the daily chart on the S&P, what you see here is a little slowdown a couple of days in a row with a little pop happening. And here on the VIX, we're getting just this little bitty, I'm going to zoom in more. So we're seeing the bottom sort of come down slowly, which does make sense, right? Because we see the S&P 500 moving up. So we see the VIX kind of, but not coming down super far. And you would expect the VIX to come down much farther when we are sitting at all-time highs. Well, I mean, look at this. We had an all-time high on Friday. And what did the VIX do? It's not looking like a VIX that's reflecting an all-time high. It's looking like a VIX that's trying to create a floor a little bit. So it's just a little suspicious to me here on the way this VIX looks compared to the way this all-time high looks. We should be seeing the VIX in the basement, or at least lower than, this recent low. So we're not. And so that tells me that the VIX could be trying to coil up and spring. So let's take a look at the options flow over here. We're going to look at the April 29th expiration. That's going to be Wednesday. Wow, look at the open interest on the call side, guys. Do you see it? Let me open this up a little bigger. Here's the open interest on the call side. Here's the open interest on the put side. What? Do you see the difference? It's pretty stark, isn't it? We have got open interest, the highest open interest sitting at the 25 strike, guys. Oof. Feels to me like we might start to get a spring on the VIX. It's possible. The flow is looking that way. So let's go over a reminder of what is open interest. So volume, we'll start with volume. Volume is a dynamic number that changes today. So as all of these numbers right here represent today's behavior, today's orders, purchases. This is how many people, how many orders have been placed for the VIX. So right now we've got 2,800 sitting at the 21 strike on the calls, and we've got 2,900 sitting at the 20 strike on the puts. Well, that in itself is telling, because we're sitting at 20 and 21 on both sides of the option chain. But open interest tells you how many people are holding this position. So this does not get updated by today's numbers. This does not reflect today's volume. This number reflects a snapshot that they took last night. They do it every night. They update the open interest, and they basically are a running counter of how many people are sitting in this position. Okay. Not for today. None of the purchases for today are reflecting in the open interest. You won't see that until tomorrow. So as you look at the open interest, you can know that as of last night, this is how many people are holding this position. And if they close their position, that will get reflected. If they closed it today, that won't get reflected until when it gets updated tonight and we see it tomorrow. So that's the difference between open interest. It is not a static number. It is it's not a dynamic number. It's a static number that gets updated nightly, whereas volume is very dynamic and is growing throughout the day. So interesting little snapshot here of the VIX, looking to me like there's a lot of positioning going on to the call side, which tells me that we could be fixing for a spring. And this behavior right here, it just looks a little off. It looks a little off with an all-time high. So all that to say, we should be getting a move down at some point. However, guys, here on this channel, we trade like water. We have to trade what the market gives us. We've got to be like water. And if the market is currently giving us a run up, which it is in the macro picture, this is nothing but a huge bullish run up. We have to respect that. We cannot be out here trying to call tops, buying puts, buying and holding puts, buying and holding puts. You don't want to do that until the market tells you that we're ready to do that, if that makes sense. So we look at the macro picture. Macro picture is extremely bullish. We are starting to get a little bit of a move down on the MACD, but nothing that is confirming a rollover yet. Nothing at all. This is still extremely strong. So even though the MACD might be starting to get a little bit darker here, there's no confirmation to take puts here. There's no confirmation to start calling tops here. Don't do it, guys. You will burn yourself trying to call tops. Don't do it. The market can stay rational longer than you can stay solvent. And I know everybody has heard that saying, but it is absolutely true. So can this thing jump up some more? Yeah. And again, we've got an overnight high sitting out here, just waiting to be tested. So we have to trade like water. We have to trade what the market gives us. So today I have traded both puts and calls. Did better on the call than I did on the puts, but won on all of them. And that's because I am trying to trade like water. I'm watching what this, so I zoom out, I look at the big macro picture, very, very bullish. And then zoom in to the micro picture, and the micro picture is, it's not really bullish or bearish at the moment. We're slightly down. So if we had to pick a direction right now, we'd say we're slightly down, only 10 points below Friday's close. So nothing major. But the direction at the moment is down, while the big macro direction is up. So that's kind of what I'm looking at when I'm making trades. I'm watching this micro trend, and then I'm filtering that through what the macro trend is doing, if that makes sense. All right, no trades here yet. What I want to see is I want to see if we're moving up. So we did get this MACD rollover here, but I would like to see us come back up to the VWAP and push on up through it before I would consider calls, because again, we are in a bit of a micro downtrend. So I'm not going to trade against that at the moment until we actually get some confirmation. We push up through this VWAP. Until then, I'm going to just kind of keep my gunpowder dry. I'm not doing anything at the moment. Our VIX is telling us little tiny possible upward trend, possibly. We'll watch that. We're sitting at 18.7. Okay. And we're right here at the bottom of our opening range. We've sat here for a while. Look how long we've been sitting here. A little blip down, a little pull up, and we've been just sitting here for quite a while on this bottom of the opening range. So let's see if we get a bounce up from here, or if we try to break it and make another leg lower. So like I said, this trend here tells us we could make another leg lower, but it's starting to look a little weak. The trend is starting to look a little weak, and we could start to see the move up here. So right now we're just watching and waiting. And let's take a look at our leaderboards. We do have Brent up this morning. I'm talking about oil, 108. So it's climbing, as is sweet crude up to 96, almost 97. So that's, we're seeing oil climb while the market is kind of at this moment moving down just a little bit. Over the last few days, I've noticed oil and the market are decoupling a little bit. When the conflict started with Iran, oil and the market were inverse in sync. Again, kind of like the VIX, right? Oil went up, market went down. Oil went down, market went up. But now we're decoupling a little bit from that, and seeing seeing oil move a little bit more independently. Well, I should say the market's moving a little bit more independently, still trying to push up even while oil is at some really high levels. So that's part of the irrationality of the market. So still pushing up with oil pushing up as well. And it's not sustainable. The oil is going to, has already, but we'll see more and more. Oil is going to affect the economy, because oil is in everything. It's global. We need it for everything. Oil runs the economy. And so with oil being elevated the way it is, and it's been now, at least a couple of months that it's been elevated, that is going to start to ripple through the global economy, not just the United States, the global economy. We're going to start to see even higher prices because of what's been happening with oil. So this run up in the market is not sustainable. It's going to have to correct, but it can correct whenever it wants to, right? And we don't get to tell it when to correct. We just watch for the signs, right? Okay. So oil climbing, Google up 1.9, Intel 1.2, Nvidia 1%. And looks like most of the indices are down this morning with the IWM just at its flat line. So just down about 0.07%. And remember, IWM is the Russell, basically. It's the Russell 2000 small cap stock index. ES sitting here at 0.14 down. The NASDAQ 0.27 down, and the Dow 0.3. So nobody down hard or far. Nobody's, dumping hard, at least as far as the indices go. Let's see what our MAG 7 is doing. So the MAGs as a group, as a whole, the ETF that I like to look at is MAGS, MAGS. It's just an ETF that holds all of the Magnificent Seven. It's down right now at about 0.2, so not too far. Microsoft down 0.4. Let's see. Apple down 1.3. Tesla down 2.4. Okay. So where is Microsoft? Meta is at its flat line. Where's Microsoft? There it is. Microsoft. Where's Apple and Amazon? Amazon, Apple. Okay. Then we've got Nvidia. Where's Google? Google is green today. And Tesla is red. Okay, got them. So basically, most of Mag 7 looking a little bit red today, although Google is kind of leading at 1.86 elevated. And I always watch that because they are the leaders. So as these Magnificent Seven stocks go, that's how the index is going to go. All right, we are getting a move up here. We are getting some signals. Let's see if we can get a test of this VWAP. That's really what I'm waiting for here. We could have traded this reversal, but like I said, we were waiting for a break of this trend. So this trend was down. We got a little questionable break here, and now this is actually confirmed break of the trend, looking like potential bottom and looking like the move could be up. So let's see how we do when we get to the VWAP. Do we want to consider calls here? Maybe. I'm going to look at the 713 calls, but I will say the volume is highest at the 713 put level. So we've got more volume sitting at 713 on the puts than we do on the calls. However, the next highest is going to be the 714 call strike. So I am looking at 713 calls. And let's see if there's enough gas in the tank to get us through the VWAP and back up here to our little short-term top. I don't know if there is, so we're watching. So VIX tried to climb a bit, gave us a bit of a head and shoulders here. Do you see it? Little mini head and shoulders on the VIX. This is just the minute chart, mostly noise, but you can see it, right? You see the head and shoulders. And head and shoulders is a bearish pattern, but remember, VIX is inverse to the market. So bearish on the VIX is bullish on the market. So if we see a bearish pattern here, it's telling us we could see a bullish movement on the market. And we are seeing a bullish movement. The question is, if we do break through the VWAP, is this move just a little bit too long for us to trade? And it might be. It might be. And again, kind of, I think the actual goal for today might just be sideways. today and tomorrow, possibly, with the big volatility coming in on Wednesday. So, and it's interesting that we saw the VIX with the expirations for Wednesday as well. So I think everyone's kind of betting on a jump on the VIX for Wednesday. And I think that makes a lot of sense with all of the data and the earnings coming up. I think it makes a lot of sense to expect some volatility on the VIX. And when we get volatility, then we get movements. And when we get movements, that's when our style of trading really shines. We do very well with volatility. We do very well with big movements. We can make a lot of money that way if we're paying attention, right? So today and maybe tomorrow, we might just see just kind of some sideways movement. And that is really all we've seen today so far. So I just happened to be sitting in calls right here when we got this fun bar. That was fun. So I've been sitting in calls at what I had traded was this break of the VWAP here. And then I sat through this move against me. And then all of a sudden it just went whoosh. And I got like 25% on that move, which was great for me because usually I'm happy with small moves. As you guys know, I take a lot of times, most of the time, I take under 10% wins. But it's enough. I stay profitable. So every now and then those nice, lucky big candles help me. And I appreciated that. Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Guy. It was a good one. You know, I don't get those big ones too often, but when I do, I'm always grateful. All right, volume coming in right here where the VWAP is, making some moves toward the VWAP. Let's see what we get here. The MACD wants to brighten up. We'll see if we can push up through here. It's certainly taken its time, isn't it? Very slow, painfully slow moves. And basically what I just said about the big moves being what help us to make money, these slow moves are agonizing because you can sit in a move like this for, 15 minutes waiting for, a 7% win. And that's frustrating, but that it is just the way the cookie crumbles some days. All right. Little push here. MACD is not brightening yet. Let's see. Our VWAP is just overhead. And our little head and shoulders is kind of playing out here. On the VIX. I am going to take a quick look at our gamma and see where we're sitting. We were in just slightly negative gamma, and we still are. Let me update this. All right. So gamma for today, I'm looking at today's expiration, is skewed to the put side, skewed to the negative. We've got 4.9 billion in put gamma versus 4.4 billion in call gamma for a net negative gamma of 500 million. And the put wall is sitting at 712. So that's a little bit below us down here, actually, where we just hit right down here. Put wall sitting below us at 712. Call wall at 716, but the call wall is about half the gamma of the put wall. All right, little move down here. Do we want to consider some puts here? Maybe, maybe. Let's see what we get. We've got our MACD almost ready to roll over. If I were going to take puts, I would take them at the 714 level. Let's see if our VIX is starting to invalidate this little pattern here. It's been slowly moving down, and now it's just giving us a little tiny curve, but nothing too committed, right? Doesn't look like it's committing to a run up yet. So still waiting. And one of the things I like to say a lot is trading is made up of mostly waiting, waiting for your trades to set up, waiting for your trades to pay off, waiting all the time in trading. And you've got to be patient. You've got to be a good, able to wait. You've got to be able to wait because and I guess I'm in quotes today, but another really, really great quote that I love is from Warren Buffett. And he said, the market is an instrument to take money out of the hands of the impatient and put it into the hands of the patient. And I would agree with that so much. And of course, Warren Buffett is an investor long term. He's not a trader like we are, where we're in and out really, really quickly. He is definitely moving in much bigger dollars and much slower increments and investing over the long haul. But that saying, it plays out even in the minute by minute trading. You've got to be patient. That is really, really key. So, all right, looks like our MACD just starting to get a little bit red here. We might see some puts. Let's see what we got. Superman, hello. Are you using Thinkorswim? Yes, sir, I am. I absolutely am. I've been on Thinkorswim for well over a decade. Let me see. Yeah, well over a decade. Long time. So yeah, and I'm pretty comfortable with it. It's really my favorite platform for trading. Just kind of hanging out here under the VWAP, not really moving up or down at the moment. Again, not much to trade here, guys. Kind of boring a little bit. We could see, let's take a look and see who the major shakers and movers are today. Looks like MU is moving. 25 million in premium on MU. Yep. And what do we have over here? I'm just looking at my unusual flow just to see where all the money is right now. NVIDIA calls, it looks like, but that's not, those are out until May. MU puts 1025. FSLR is bullish, it looks like. So got a few movers out here. I usually like, if I'm going to trade something that's not SPY, I like it to be pretty big, like a large cap stocks. I don't usually trade anything too little, usually because I want enough open interest. I want enough people trading it, enough liquidity to be able to get in and out. So usually I will stay away from thinly traded stocks. If I trade anything else, I like to look at the large caps usually. All right, still just sitting sideways here. Really hovering right here in this 713 level. Our MACD is slightly red. No trades so far, guys. Kind of a quiet morning, but remember, cash is a position. And if you're not getting the setups that you need or you like, just don't take it. I know it's tempting to get in there and trade. You want to, but it's not worth it. If you're not getting the setups and it's not looking the way you want it to look, you're better off sitting in cash. Keep your powder dry. You'll get the movement. It'll come. There's always another move. There's always plenty of money to be made in the stock market. Trust me. And sometimes we have to sit through these dry spells. That's okay. That's all right. We'll be patient. We'll have our gunpowder ready, our dry powder ready. And when the opportunity presents, we'll make money. But for right now, just sideways. So what I want to see is a break of the VWAP to the upside or a break of this over opening range low to the downside. And right now we just kind of, you can see the boundaries, right? And here's the white line here, the green line here, and we're just right in between. So we'll wait for that to show us which direction it wants to go. Right now, it's just a little bit trappy, and we don't know which way it's going to go. There's a little push. If any, right? It may just, like I said, it may just stay sideways. That could happen. All right, there's a nice little push. Let's see if we break to the upside through the VWAP. If we do, I would jump on the 713 calls, maybe. Maybe. Let's watch and see if it can push on through. And we're getting close to the end of the stream. Unfortunately, we did not have an opportunity to take a trade, but that's okay. It's actually coming right now. If this thing pushes up through, I might consider this call here above the VWAP. But let's talk about what the rest of the day might look like. If we are just going to get rangy behavior, so we did give this little drop and then a recovery. We're right back in the middle of the range. That's where the VWAP is sitting, smack dab at the middle of the range. If we get this rangy behavior for the rest of the day, I'll probably really be very selective with my trades. But if we can push up here, maybe break this opening range to the high or break this opening range or this overnight low, I would consider that. Now, remember, there is an overnight high in play. This is a new all-time high. So this is what we need to be watching for. It will get tested. It doesn't have to get tested today, but it will get tested. And so if anything, I'm just slightly leaning toward this getting tested today. So a little bit more bullish than bearish, but not by much. I'm mostly thinking that we're probably just going to sit on this range. But I will trade either way based on a break of the range. And I want to see it break, like I said, up here through this opening range and try to run up and tag this high. Or I want to see it break through to the low end of the range. And it already did that. And it already did tag our overnight low. So it can certainly come down, tag it again, and come lower. Or it can turn and just start traveling up and tag this high. I think that's possible. If we don't just get sideways today, I think it's possible that we come tag this high. Like I said, it will get tagged. Whether it's today, we don't know. All right, guys. So that's kind of what I'm looking at for today. A little bit of a boring day. We do get them. We're at all-time highs. Be cautious here. Don't be calling tops. Don't be, be cautious. It's always challenging trading here at the all-time highs. So be cautious with that, guys. And we'll be back again tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern. I appreciate you guys so much, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.